Shalom, shalom. This is El Dayil from One Nation, One Power, coming back to try to help my brothers and sisters in the faith. Seeing how we got 2 to go, I want to bring forth some information, some things that over time God has shown me in the scriptures. And I want to share with you today. I want to be able to help you to have an advantage on what's coming. Because I practice this, and I've been practicing this for years. So let's go for a quick ride. But first, get your pencil and get your paper. I'm going to take my time, because I got some time on my hands today to show you how to walk and how to keep the protection of the Most High God and His hedge about your life. So before I start, get your pen and paper. I'm going to show you what Job had about his life. And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper in our Bible. But you see the hedge. It means, in Hebrew, it means to wall in or around, close up, fence up, hedge, enclose, make up a wall. You see that? To make up a wall. This is what Job had about his life when Satan inquired of the Most High God, could he have him? The Most High God had to first remove this hedge of protection that was about Job so that he can have Job. I want you guys to look at that real good, because this is what you should have around your life for such a time as this. The hedge. That might be the name of this video. You want to get the hedge of protection from the Most High God around your life and keep it there. You don't want to get the Most High to put up a hedge about you today and He have to take it down tomorrow. I'm going to show you in the scriptures today how to keep this hedge of protection about you, your house, and all that you own. The hedge. Go with me for a quick ride. Let's go to the book of Job. Let's go to the book of Job. Let's go to the book of Job. Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. We're going to hit on a few passages of scripture, and I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to rush through this video because I want you to get it. That's right. I want you to get every bit of it. Let's go to Job chapter 1. Remember the hedge that I just showed you. It's going to be mentioned here in the book of Job. But remember, everything in this Bible was written as an example. The Most High is not going to put this hedge about Job and not put it around you. He's no respecter of persons when it comes to those of us who serve Him in righteousness and in truth. Are you following me? Go with me to the book of Job, chapter 1. We'll look at verse 9 and 10. Now remember, Satan had desired to attack Job. He wasn't playing no games either. Job, the Bible said, was an upright and perfect man. And I believe the Bible when it says that he was an upright and perfect man. As a matter of fact, let's go there. Job 1 and 1. Start at Job 1 and 1. I'm going to take my time. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright. Now the Bible told us that Job was perfect and upright, and since the Bible told me that, I'm going to believe it. He was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. Stop. Now, in Job 1 and 1, it let us know that Job was a perfect and upright man. Now, me, in my natural thinking, I would say, God, why did you let the devil attack this man when he was perfect and upright? This man had it all. Why, God, did you now allow Hashatan to even put a finger on this man, God? Why did you allow this to happen? He allowed this to happen so it can be written down so that in the future we can read it and learn something from it. Come on up out of here. And one of the things I learned from this is that no matter how righteous I may think I am, no matter how holy I may think I am not. You hear me out there? I am not what? I am not without reproach. That's right. This is the way. Can you imagine if the Most High didn't allow Satan to attack Job, what type of mindset Job would have had after a few more years of living holy and righteous? What type of righteous attitude he had? He probably would have became a snob. One of those righteous snobs looking down at everybody else if he had never had this happen in his life. So the Most High said he was a perfect and upright man, and he hated evil. Now let's go over to verse number 9. Job 1, 9 and 10. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? You blessed him with everything. You've given him the big house. You've given him all of the animals. As a matter of fact, that every time his animals have babies, they have twins. Oh, come on up out of here. Everything Job has received from you, God, has been the double. Come on up out of here. Has been the double. Everything in his life. I mean, the man he's the richest man in the land of Uz. He got it all. Can you see? Every time a sheep have a baby, it's 2 to 3 sheep at one time. Every time, come on up out of here. His animals breed. Every time a goat have a baby, it's 2 and 3 babies at one time. Twins, quadruplets. Come on up out of here. Job so blessed at this time in his life. I can only imagine his mindset. You see, when we get so blessed sometimes in our mindset, we start to look down on those around us. Let's continue in the lesson. Job 1 and 10. Has not thou made a hedge about him? This is Satan still talking. From the mouth of Hashatan, he says to the Most High God, have you not put a hedge about him? Show you that hedge again in Hebrew. This is what Satan said. Have you not put a wall around him? Have you not closed him up? Have you not made a fence all around Job and everything he owns? I can't get to him as long as you got that hedge up. I can't touch him as long as you got that hedge up. I can't touch nothing that belongs to this man because you got a hedge about him. Now watch this. Satan wouldn't have told the Most High about this hedge if he has not tried to penetrate it. Oh, come on up out of here. Satan would not have brung up the hedge if he had not maybe sent demon spies, assassination teams to try to do anything to bring Job, teams of demons to try to attack his sheep and couldn't get to him, attack his goats and couldn't get to him. Because as we continue to read in this lesson, after the hedge was removed, Satan had his way with Job, but he was not allowed to kill Job. Job had boils all over his body. But Hashatan was not allowed to take his life. Satan did everything in his power to cause Job to walk away from God, not because of his wealth, but because of the hedge. Oh, somebody hearing me? When we read this story of Job, we pay more attention to his substance and not enough attention to the hedge, not enough attention to the wall that the Most High had put around him and everything he owned. Even his children had a wall around them, and the Bible goes into detail and tells us that they were still partying. The children were still getting together on their birthdays, come on up out of here, and doing what they wanted to do. So when the hedge of protection was taken down, the hedge was only there because of Job. The hedge wasn't there because of the children. The hedge wasn't there because of the goats or the sheep. The hedge was there because Job was an upright and perfect man, and that is what allowed the Most High to put the hedge of protection about everything he owned. But oh, when that hedge of protection was removed, who did Hasatan lay it on? Boy, let me tell you, he laid it on them children. So what is that saying to us today as men that are married and have children? That's saying a lot, isn't it? I better keep living right if I want my children to be protected. Come on up out of here. Because I believe that the Most High will not allow this to ever happen again, because he allowed it to happen once and one time only in Job's life, because this is the only recorded time in history where we can read about this incident happening this way with any man of the Most High God. He allowed it to happen so that we today can read from it and learn from it. So Satan said, remove the hedge. You notice Satan didn't say take away his wealth, take away his ability to feed his family. You notice Satan wasn't worried about the job. Satan wasn't worried about anything but that hedge. Do you hear me out there? So Satan says, don't you got a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Satan says, you got so much protection. You got heavily armed angels, come on up out of here, strapped to the teeth, bodyguards, standing around everything that Job got. Can you imagine that with your natural eye right now? Job got unseen forces protecting him, bodyguards following him, making sure that Hasatan and his demons can't get to him. But the first thing he says is remove the hedge. Remove them powerful angels. Remove them. Call them back. And let me affect Job in a negative way. And I bet you I can get him to cuss you to your face. Now, his wife was the first one to walk up to him and told him, why don't you just curse God and die? Oh, come on out of here. What kind of wife is that? That when the man starts to go through bad times, she's ready to jump ship. She just wasn't ready to jump ship. She was ready to move on with her life, because she came right out and told him, why don't you curse God first? Why did she want him to curse God first? Because Satan was speaking out of her mouth. That's right. Satan got right into his wife and told her to do exactly what Satan was telling God in the beginning. Curse God. Job said, hey, if I've received all this good, shouldn't I be able to endure some evil? Come on up out of here. Talking to somebody out there. You've been dealing with the good for all of this time. Should not we be able to go through a little bit evil and still continue to praise God, still continue to lift him up? So here is Satan saying, you done hedged everything in. Verse 10, thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. Verse 11, but put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Verse 12, and the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he has is in thy power. I want somebody to understand what I just read, and I'm going to take my time, because I bet you that just went over you guys' heads. I'm going to take my time. Watch. Verse 11, but put forth thine hand now, Satan is telling God to put forth thine hand. When you go over to the book of Psalms, chapter 17, verse 13 and 14, especially verse 14, Psalm 17, verse 14, it tells you that the wicked are the hand of God. So here in verse 11, Satan is saying to God, put forth thine hand and touch all he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Satan said to the Most High God, why don't you put forth your hand? Well, let's see who is the hand of God. Let's see if this is God's actual hand or Satan's God hand. Oh, you guys better come on up out of here. I'm going to read verse 11 and 12 real slow. Put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he has is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. We just read of, did you hear that? Satan is the Most High's hand in the earth. Satan in verse 11 told the Most High, put forth your hand. And then the Most High turned right around and says, all that he hath is in thy power. Oh my goodness gracious. That put a whole new light on the devil attacking us. Why does the Most High allow Satan to attack us? Is it to kill us and take us out? No, it's to make us stronger. The whole story of Job was about Satan attacking him through the will of God. But in the end, when you read Job's life, he received double for his trouble. Everything that Job went through, he never cursed God. Let's get into it. Now we understand that it was the hedge that Hashatan wanted removed. And then he told the Most High, put forth now thy hand. And then in verse 12, the Most High says to Satan, all that he has is in thy power. Meaning, Satan is the Most High's hand in the earth. In this particular instance. Let's keep going. Go with me now to Job chapter 31. Job chapter 31. Stay in the book of Job. Job chapter 31. We want to make sure that we keep this hedge of protection about us. Job chapter 31. Job 31. Job 31. And we'll look at verse 4. Job 31 and 4. Now what we're doing is we're going to try to get it and identify what was Job's ability to endure. How did Job endure what the Most High allowed Hashatan to do to him? Job 31 and 4. Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot have hastened to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. I'm going to read that again, and I'm going to deal with just verse 4. Job 31 and 4. Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? Job 31 and 4. Job said, doth not the Most High see all my ways? That's a revelation right there. Doth not the Most High see all my ways? See what Job had that we don't have today? Job had the understanding that the Most High God seen him when he got up in the morning. The Most High God seen him at noonday. That the Most High God watched him in the evening time. That the Most High God had his eyes on him when he went to bed. And that he had an understanding that he couldn't sneak out on Friday night simply because the sun went down. You better come on up out of here. Job had an understanding that everything he did, when he brushed his teeth, the Most High was watching him. When you hearing me? When he took a shower, the Most High was watching him. Every aspect of his life was under a microscope, and he knew it. Today, we have this misunderstanding and this, I call it a sneaky demon. We have this sneaky demon that oftentimes talks to us, and it makes us think that we can do something that God don't see. And, you know, this sneaky demon is the type of demon that when it's around other Israelites is holy. The Bible calls it secret sin. Job was aware that there was no such thing as secret sin. But for some of us today, we still dibble and dabble in secret sin, thinking that we can hide from the eyes of God. Job understood that everything he did, let me read 31:4 one more time. Doth not he see my ways? Doth not he see my ways? And he count all my steps. The Most High count all of our steps. You know what that means? Let me break it down for you. The Most High knew from the first day you walked to the last day you walk on the earth. Oh, you better come on out of here. He said he count all my steps. That means the Most High know exactly how many steps we're going to take before we leave this body. Let me break it down like this. The Most High know how many steps you're going to take in this life before you die. Is that revelation for you? I hope so. The Most High know exactly how many steps from the time you took your first baby step until the time you die, that how many steps is going to be in between there before you leave this earth. That's how bad he is. Now let's stay in the book of Job. Job dealing with his steps now. He wanted us to pay attention to his steps, his feet, where he going, and what he doing. Because he said if he counting all my steps, he know everywhere I go and everything I do. He see all my ways. Revelation, knowledge. I know God. There's nothing I can do that he don't see. Are you with me? Stay in the book of Job. Go to Job chapter 23. Job chapter 23. Job chapter 23. We'll look at verse number 10. No, we'll go up. We'll go up to verse 8. Job 23:8. Now, Job had the understanding that the Most High God seen all of his ways, meaning every day of the week, from the first day to the seventh day, the Most High is watching him. That every step he took, the Most High was counting. And still, the Most High allowed his hand in Job chapter 1, verse 11 and 12, Satan to attack him. Why did the Most High allow Satan to attack him by removing the hedge? It's because the Most High was letting Satan know that us, as normal flesh and blood human beings, through his power, can endure all things. He lost his sons. He lost his daughters. He lost all of his cattle. He lost all of everything he had. And on top of that, instead of his wife being there to support him, she cussed him. Job 23 and verse 8. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand, where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him. This is Job chapter 23, verse 8 and 9. Job just said that while I'm going through all this hell, I'm praying, but God not answering. Ooh. Hey, do you hear? Have anybody been in this situation? He says, the Most High has hid himself from me. He not answering my prayer. Where is he? He not talking back to me. Where has he gone? he has abandoned me right in the time when I need him the most. Oh, you better come on up out of here. This is Job letting us know that right when he was in the middle of all of his children dying, right when he was in the middle of losing all of his substance, going from millionaire to broke, he didn't take the suicide page. Oh, you better come on out of here. He didn't go and jump off a roof and put a gun to his head and pull the trigger. Ain't that what they do today? Job says, I'm going through all of this. My wife told me to cuss God and just die. And I'm calling on God for help to just subdue her mouth. And he ain't subduing her mouth. I'm calling on the Most High for help, and he not answering me. Where has he gone? What is he doing? Don't he see my plight? Don't he understand that I'm on the verge of walking away? Don't he understand that I'm on the verge of giving up? I'm sitting here in the dirt with boils all over my body. I'm itching. I'm scratching. I'm at the end. I'm at my wit's end. I'm hollering out for help. I'm calling him and begging him to please come. I'm asking him to fix this thing. And most of all, I'm asking him, why is he allowing this to happen to me? Oh, come on up out of here. So, in verse 10, we're going to get an understanding of why Job is in the midst of all of this hell. Why Job is in the midst of ultimate tribulation. That's what this is. Ultimate tribulation on his life. Look what he says in verse 10. But he knoweth the way that I take. Oh, come on out of here. Can we say that today when we going through? But one thing, the Most High knows that while I'm down and out, he still knows the way that I'm going to take. He knows that I'm not going to all of a sudden now, because I'm going through, I'm going to take a way that's going to lead me into the nightclub. That now I got an excuse to go to the nudie club. Job says, behold, he know the way I'm going to take, though he slay me. Oh, you better hear me out there. Though I go through all this hell, though my sons die, though my daughters die, though all my sheep is gone, all my oxen is gone, I'm broke, I lost everything, he still know the way that I'm going to take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Verse 11, my foot have held his steps, his way have I kept and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. Brothers and sisters, you need to highlight Job chapter 23, verse 8 through 12. Job said, even though I'm in this condition, he knows the way that I'm going to take. I'm going to continue to hold on to his laws, his statutes, and commandments, even though I'm at the lowest state in my life. And now I went from the leader and the wealthiest man in the land of Uz to now pushing a shopping cart. You better come on up out of here. Though I wore fine clothes and ate fine food in Hollywood and in Bel Air, now I'm on Skid Row pushing a basket and I got boils all over my body to the point where people are running afraid for me. Come on out of here. Brothers and sisters, this should be our attitude when the tribulation starts. When the tribulation begins, Job is a good example of how we should conduct ourselves and how we should lead our lives during this tribulation. He knoweth the way that I take, even though I have lost everything. Let's go now to the book of Psalms. Go with me to the book of Psalms, chapter 37. Psalms 37. Psalms 37. And let's look at verse 31. Psalms 37 and 31. Psalms 37 and 31. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. Psalms 37 and 31. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. Now Job had the laws of the Most High God in his heart. This is why none of his steps slid. Oh, you guys out there hearing me? Job said, though he slay me, though I lose everything I have, though I be put into a situation where all I got is a Walmart shopping cart, and I had to pull the Walmart label off of that just so I can own that, I'm still going to serve the Most High on Skid Row. I'm still going to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments while I'm living on Skid Row. Because that's what Job was. He went from wealthy, Bel Air, Hollywood living, a righteous, clean life, to living on Skid Row and had a sickness in his body that nobody could heal. You notice no doctors at this time was there with any ointments to put up on them boils, because the Most High wasn't having it. He used Job as an example for us to live in the future. Stay in the book of Psalms 37. Now go back to verse 23. Psalms 37 and 23. The steps, here we go, we're still dealing with them steps. We're still dealing with your feet. Are your feet leading you into the steps and into the laws, statutes, and commandments of God? Or are your steps leading you into places that your feet should not be? Psalms 37 and 23. The steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Verse 24. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. Oh, come on out of here. The Lord upholdeth him with his hand. Do you hear me out there? I need to read this again. Psalms 37, 23 to 24. The steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Stop. If my steps are being ordered of the Lord, I can guarantee you that my steps will not lead me into a house of sin, that my steps will not lead me to the crack house, that my steps will not lead me, if they are ordered by the Lord, to that girlfriend's house, that my steps will not lead me to go rob those people. My steps will not lead me at 12 o'clock at night to go break into somebody else's house, because my steps are ordered of the Lord. Verse 24, though he fall. Why is that in verse 24, though he fall? Because if we say that we have not sinned, we make God a liar. But that doesn't give us a justification to willfully sin. Though he fall. When you fall, do you intentionally fall? Or do you stumble on something that caused you to fall? Oh, come on out of here. I'm breaking this down for you. Though he fall. I have never seen anybody that's walking down the street who willfully throw themselves down on the ground. But I have seen people trip and stumble and fall That's a difference. If I willfully throw myself down on the ground, then I'm willfully in sin. But if I stumble on something, that's what Satan does, cast stumbling blocks in our way, and I fall, that's a difference. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. The Lord upholdeth him with his hand. Go to Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs 16 and 9. Proverbs 16 and 9. Proverbs 16 and 9. Are you ready? A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. But the Lord directeth his steps. Now my question to you is the Most High God ordering your steps? Or are you ordering your own steps? If the Most High God is ordering your steps in 2017, I can guarantee you he's at peace with you. I can guarantee you he is on your side. Allow the Most High God to order your steps. Stay with me in the book of Psalms. Go to 119. Psalms 119. Psalms 119. Go with me to the book of Psalms 119. 119 and verse 133. Psalms 119 and verse 133. Psalms 119 and verse 133. Remember, Job says, he counteth all of my steps, and he knoweth the way that I take. Even though while I'm in the midst of everything I'm going through, I'm calling up on him, he's hiding himself. My friends, sometimes in our lives, the Most High God will hide himself from us so that we can be tried. Will we continue to serve him though he has gone silent? Will we continue to walk with him though we feel like he's not watching us? Will we continue in spite of the Most High God closing the door? Will we continue to be a light unto the rest of the world in spite of the Most High God cutting off them baby strings to see what we will do? Psalms 119, 133. This should be your prayer in the coming months and weeks. Order my steps in thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. And let not any iniquity have any dominion over me. Let's talk about that. He says, order my steps in thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. This is spiritual. Let not any iniquity have dominion over me. Father, don't let any sin rule over my life. Are you with me? Father, don't let any iniquity rule over me. Let me rule over iniquity. See the difference? When we were in the world, iniquity ruled over us. We lived in it. We bathed in it. We were like a pig wallowing in the mire. But now that you have come to Christ, been repented, been baptized, have received the power of the Holy Spirit, iniquity should not rule over you. Because if iniquity is ruling over you today, I can guarantee you, you living in willful sin. And it has control over you. Because Paul said that sin lieth in my members, that is, in my flesh dwelleth no good thing. Job says, order my steps. He counteth all of my steps, but he knoweth the way that I take. He know the direction that I'm going to go in spite of him not listening to me. thou watching over me, letting loose of my hand. You see, Job was growing up. Job, at this point in his life, was being made into a spiritual dynamo. Job, at this point, when God turned his back on him and hid his face from him, in the midst of his troubles, he was being tried. Have you been tried? Are you being tried? Is there a trial coming for you? Is this message for you to let you know that in spite of what you may be going through, in spite of what you may be dealing with, if you continue in the path with your steps, keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, that in the end, just like Job, you shall receive double. The Most High has promised us that he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. And in the end, we shall receive double. Do you hear me out there? Just like Job did. We will, if we make it to the end, if we press for the prize of the mark of the high calling, which is only in Christ Jesus, if we but press, if we forget those things that are behind and press for those things that are before us, we're going to make it to the end. Because he counteth all of my steps, and he knoweth the way that I take, that though I become homeless and have to push a basket, I will still walk in my integrity of the Most High God, laws, statutes, and commandments. Let's keep going. Go back to the book of Job. Go back to the book of Job. Go to Job chapter 73. Job. We want Job. We want Job. No, we don't want Job. We don't want that. We want Psalms 44:18. Psalms 44:18. Psalms 44:18. Psalms 44:18. And we're going to come back to Job. Psalms 44:18. Psalms 44:18. I hope you're writing down all of these scriptures. Psalms 44:18. We'll start at verse 17. Psalms 44:17-18. Forgive me. Psalms 44:17-18. You ready? Verse 17. All this is come upon us, yet we have not forgotten thee. Neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Our ancestors, some of them, walked just like Job did. Are you hearing me out there? They said there's some of us that's going to hold on to your covenant. There's some of us that no matter what comes our way, we're going to walk in your steps, because we have an understanding and we know that the steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord. Go with me now to 1 Peter. Let's go to 1 Peter. 1 Peter. 1 Peter. Go with me to 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. For even hereunto were you called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that you should follow his steps. See that? We're dealing with the same steps that Job was talking about. In Peter 2:21, that we should follow in the very steps of Christ. Did Christ suffer? Yes, he did. Was Christ put in a position somewhere like Job? Yes, he was. When Christ was hanging on the cross, he said, Eli, Eli, sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Even Christ was put in the position to where he felt at one time in his life that God had forsaken him. Even though God had not forsaken him, he allowed him to feel temporarily what disconnection from God feels like. Have you ever been there where you felt spiritually disconnected from God? This is the same thing that Job felt when he was going through what he was going through. And at the time he was going through, I can guarantee you that just like his wife told him to cuss God and die, there will be individuals in your family, there will be friends that will whisper also from the mouth of Satan, give up. Why don't you quit? What is all this about? You wasting your time. Well, I'm here today to encourage you and to let you know that we have had forerunners that have went before us, that went through worse than what we're going through, and they still held on. So I'm here today to let you know, hold on. In spite of what you're going through, hold on. In spite of what you're dealing with, hold on. In spite of what people say to you, hold on to the unwavering hand of the Most High God. Anyway, oh, come on out of here. Anyway, I don't care if you're falling down in the sin, get up. I don't care how far you're backsliding, come back, repent, ask the Most High to restore you to your rightful place in him. Now, let's go back to the book of Job. Let's go back to the book of Job. Job, chapter 42. And we'll finish up. Job 42, beginning in verse 7. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, see, after all that Job went through, eventually the Most High spoke to him. And eventually the Most High will speak to you too. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is kindled against thee, and against thy two friends, for you have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job had. All of this time, Job had friends who were speaking to him while he was going through, trying to give him counsel. And then in the end, the Most High told Eliphaz the Temanite that my wrath is kindled against thee and thy two friends. See, you cannot, when you're going through, take ungodly counsel or ungodly advice from ungodly friends or ungodly family. Because the Most High right here says that Job, though he was going through, was the only one that was speaking right and speaking for me. Verse 8, therefore, take unto you now 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering. And my servant Job shall pray for you. For him will I accept, lest I deal with you after your folly, and that you have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job. When you read the whole book of Job, you will start to have compassion for these guys that were speaking to Job, trying to let him know that he must have done something wrong for God to punish him the way he did. But God turned right around and told these same servants at the end to go get what? 7 bullocks and 7 rams and take them to Job and sacrifice them for forgiveness, and Job will pray for you. And it is Job's prayer that I'm going to listen to, because Job was tried in the fire and in the furnace of affliction. Are you being tried in the fire and in the furnace of affliction? Because it is now, when you come out of that state, that the Most High, just like he said about Job, I'm going to hear now your prayer. Even though I turn my back for a season, I'm coming back to hear your prayer. And the Bible continues to say in verse 9, so Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shushite and Zophar the Nemanite went and did according as the Lord commanded them, and the Lord also accepted Job. Verse 10, and the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Is your double coming? Is your double right around the corner? Have you been tried in the furnace of affliction? Has the Most High at one time in your life removed the hedge of protection, and Satan has thrown everything at you, including the kitchen sink, and you have endured, you have pressed through, you have continued to walk in your integrity? Well, my friend, get ready. It's the season for the double from the Most High. You're not going to go through hell and not be rewarded for it. You're not going to go through what you're going through and not be blessed for it. The Most High God let us know through the life of Job that in the end, my friend, we win. In the end, we shall obtain the kingdom. In the end, we shall live forever and ever and ever. So if you're being tried by God, hold on. If you're praying to the Most High and it appears that he's not answering, hold on anyway. He's coming. Shalom.